Ever since Taiwan separated from mainland China in 1949, the Chinese Communist Party has wanted it back. But a full-scale invasion still hasn't happened, and despite saber-rattling and threats from Beijing, Taiwan remains untouched. In this video, we're going to take a look at Taiwan's secret weapon that's keeping China from attacking it. More broadly, what does the China-Taiwan conflict mean for global security and for the future of relations between the US and China? Taiwan split off from China in 1949 when communists under Mao Zedong took over the mainland and created modern communist China. Taiwan's economic miracle began in the mid-1960s, propelled by U.S. financial aid of around $4 billion, stabilizing the post-war economy and giving the country big opportunities. Taiwan transitioned from an agriculture-based to an industry-oriented economy, focusing on capital and technology-intensive industries. Although Taiwan lost its UNC to China in 1971, it kept powering on since that time, developing a successful free market economy. In the 1980s, Taiwan emerged as a major supplier of electronics globally, contributing to its economic prowess. Even now, the island nation is only officially recognized by 12 nations around the world, although many more have unofficial alliances and agreements with Taiwan. The US does not officially recognize Taiwan and has no official diplomatic relations, although it is pledged to defend Taiwan in the event of a Chinese attack and has a 1979 treaty promising American support for Taiwan's territorial integrity. China and Taiwan couldn't be more different. Taiwan is a free market capitalist system as opposed to China's communist command and control economy. Taiwan wants to stay separate and considers itself the real Republic of China, while China considers Taiwan to be an illegitimate breakaway region that should be peacefully reunified with the mainland or brought in by force if necessary. Chinese leader Xi Jinping sees reunification as a non-negotiable goal, prompting concerns of a military showdown, however, and past videos from the propaganda arms of the Chinese Communist Party have directly threatened Taiwan. Taiwan's strategic importance lies in its location within the first island chain, crucial for U.S. foreign policy and influence in the South Asia region. China's aggressive actions in the South China Sea have heightened Taiwan's significance to the U.S., as Washington also draws closer to Japan and South Korea. But the fact remains that Taiwan doesn't come close to being able to defend against a Chinese invasion. Taiwan has a population of 23.5 million and a standing army of 170,000 troops. Meanwhile, China has a population of 1.4 billion and a standing army of 2 million. The Red Dragon could swallow up Taiwan in days if it truly set its mind to it. In a military confrontation, China's forces would rapidly overwhelm and conquer Taiwan, boasting superior naval, missile, aircraft, and cyber capabilities. So why hasn't China done so already? The answer lies in one tiny and massively important secret weapon that Taiwan produces in huge quantities: semiconductors. Taiwan is a key producer for the global semiconductor industry, components which are crucial to the economic and military power of numerous nations, including the United States, Europe, and even China and Russia. A major disruption to this industry would have disastrous effects for China and many of its allies, and would also cause major sanctions and trade embargoes from the United States and other nations that China needs for its economic survival. Although China's Huawei company has produced a 5G-capable phone despite U.S. chip sanctions, and Chinese semiconductor maker SMIC appears capable of making semiconductors, Beijing is still nowhere near the level of technological development and production as seen in Taiwan. Because of semiconductors, China attacking Taiwan would be like kicking out one leg of a three-leg stool you're sitting on. It would be self-sabotage. This is why Beijing still hasn't pulled the trigger and is unlikely to do so in the near future. This is something referred to as Taiwan's Silicon Shield, a fitting name for the technological prowess that is keeping Taiwan safe. How big and important is Taiwan's semiconductor industry? Semiconductors are small chips, often made of silicon, that are finely engineered to conduct electricity and allow electrical devices to function. They are crucial to modern economies, militaries, and nations. Semiconductors are an essential component of electronic devices, enabling communications, computing, healthcare, military systems, phones, and home appliances to run properly. They are an indispensable core of modern military technologies and needed in almost every area of a modern economy, including satellite technology and modern electrical grids. However, semiconductors are not widely made all over the world, and certain areas are hubs of their production. These areas have put in the research and development, as well as tight-knit collaboration and production processes to lead the world in chip production. One of those areas is Taiwan, which produces 60% of the world's semiconductors and 90% of all the world's most advanced and most difficult to manufacture semiconductors. This gives Taiwan a corner on the market and expertise to manufacture vital components for the global economy. Taiwan's semiconductor industry is home to over 1,000 companies and plays a pivotal global role, contributing 15% to Taiwan's GDP and employing 600,000 people on the island nation. Chips go out to major companies like NVIDIA, Apple, and Broadcom, making it a critical asset around the world. Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Corporation, or TSMC, is one of the biggest players in Taiwan's semiconductor sector and has been central to Taiwan's Silicon Shield. This pioneer in chip making was established with the support of the Taiwan government in 1987, marking a strategic move. TSMC founder and former CEO Morris Chang is credited as the godfather of technology and played a key role in building Taiwan into a Silicon Island, focusing on contract chip making and carving out a new niche for the country. His hard work paid off and is continuing to progress as TSMC's importance only grows. While contract chip manufacturing demands continuous investment in technological breakthroughs, TSMC has maintained its leadership with a 90% hold on the world's advanced chip market and boasting rare and hard-to-make transistors etched down to 5 nanometers or smaller. TSMC has also taken steps to tighten ties with the United States. In a ceremony in late 2022 attended by U.S. President Joe Biden, TSMC marked the commencement of a chip plant in Arizona, and Chang himself announced a substantial investment of $40 billion in Arizona, with plans to open a second lab in 2026. Although there have been slowdowns and frustrations in getting the U.S. plant up to full capacity, Chang says that by 2026, the second Arizona lab will also be producing the most advanced 3-nanometer semiconductor chips. This marks a departure from the traditional model of advanced chip production being exclusively based in Taiwan. China's chip tricks against Taiwan have been ongoing. Taiwan finds itself caught between China and the U.S., with China investing heavily in chip making and actively recruiting talent from Taiwan. The Taiwanese government has responded with countermeasures, raiding Chinese chip makers and implementing laws against economic espionage. In the U.S., the CHIPS and Science Act passed in August 2022 offers subsidies and tax credits to promote domestic chip manufacturing, while also imposing export restrictions on advanced chips and chip-making equipment to China. The relocation of some TSMC production to the U.S., specifically the Arizona expansion, has sparked concerns in Taiwan, with political accusations suggesting the potential loss of domestic technological advantage. However, officials argue that TSMC's expansion does not diminish Taiwan's overall capacity, emphasizing that the most advanced nodes and production capabilities will continue to be produced in Taiwan. Taiwan's domestic chip laws provide tax subsidies for research costs. The global trend of friendshoring or outsourcing only to allies got a boost. Foreign chip makers including ASML, Micron, and Applied Materials are also continuing to invest in Taiwan, signaling a complex and evolving landscape for the semiconductor industry. Foreign investors own significant stakes in Taiwanese semiconductor companies, attracted by the industry's professionalism and management by non-family professionals. Other notable Taiwanese families, including the founders of Realtek and Winbond Electronics, have capitalized on the tech boom, with their startups ranking among the industry's top 10. Their visionary founders foresaw the electronics surge and anticipated the semiconductor revolution, contributing significantly significantly to Taiwan's tech success. Taiwan is a key player in the semiconductor industry, home to over 1,000 companies and contributing 15% to the country's GDP. Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, or TSMC, the world's second most valuable semiconductor company, plays a pivotal role in this sector. The global chip war revolves around advanced semiconductor technology, and Taiwan, particularly TSMC, is at the center of it. TSMC produces 90% of advanced chips for companies like NVIDIA, Apple, and Broadcom, making it a critical asset. What would happen if China invaded? The military response to a Taiwan invasion would likely halt semiconductor manufacturing on the island, leading to price increases, product delays, and disastrous inflation in various sectors. The reduction in semiconductor supply would also impact American national security, affecting the production of advanced chips used in satellites, stealth jets, and supercomputers. The destruction or damaging of TSMC facilities and manufacturing processes in Taiwan would have significant global consequences, disrupting the supply chain and damaging post-COVID economic recovery in an unprecedented way. The US-China chip war is not just about technological dominance, but also a challenge to China's sovereignty. Washington aims to prevent China from acquiring the world's most advanced chips and the equipment to produce them. A conflict over Taiwan would have severe global consequences, potentially sinking the global economy into chaos. A Chinese blockade, even without a military conflict, would disrupt over $2 trillion in economic activity, affecting global supply chains and industries dependent on Taiwan semiconductor output. So what happens next? Eyes around the world were locked on Taiwan on January 13th of this year for its most recent election. The election of William Lai signaled a clear continuation of the current president Tsai Ing-wen's approach, emphasizing Taiwan's identity as a sovereign democratic nation rather than an extension of China. The result was a definite pro-independence, pro-West signal. Despite China's attempts to intimidate voters, Lai's victory highlights the Taiwanese people's resolve to maintain their de facto independence and reject immediate unification or independence. China expressed dissatisfaction with Taiwan's choice, stating that the DPP does not represent mainstream public opinion and reaffirming its commitment to national reunification. Despite Lai securing 40% of the vote and pledging to follow his Democratic Progressive Party's or DPP strategy of deterrence while safeguarding Taiwan's separate status from China, the DPP lost its majority in Taiwan's parliament, the Legislative Yuan, creating a divided assembly with all three parties represented. This may lead to gridlock on crucial issues like defense and regional trade. Ever since Tsai came into power in 2016, China has escalated pressure on Taiwan, cutting off diplomatic communication, restricting travel, and increasing military drill activities, including mock blockades. Lai's win is seen as a challenge by China, and potential flashpoints may arise, especially with the planned visit of an official U.S. delegation and Taiwan's inauguration Day in several months on May 20th. China has said it expects an upsurge in separatist activity due to Lai's election, and heightened tensions in the Taiwan Strait are projected by many global analysts. Although China's response to Lai's victory is likely to simply be more economic pressure and rhetoric, symbolic military actions could be on the horizon as it seeks to assert influence and persuade Taiwan away from its chosen path of getting closer to the West. Here's the key thing to keep in mind about China. They have shown a desire to wield soft power and economic subversion more readily than military action. From Africa to South America, China is all about the power of trade and enticement. China is aware of the unpredictable and costly nature of ill-conceived wars, exemplified by Russia's actions in Ukraine. Additionally, China is well aware of how sabotaging the world's chip supply would ultimately sabotage its own continued growth. China's economic challenges, including slower GDP growth and rising youth unemployment in recent years, raise internal concerns. Despite predictions of increased assertiveness, many Chinese leaders view a divisionary war against Taiwan as an unneeded risk. While geopolitical risks persist, the trend suggests a thawing China-US relationship and a less assertive Chinese foreign policy. Neither the US nor China can afford any open confrontation right now, and a collapse of the global economy and political order wouldn't serve the interests of either superpower at this time. Policymakers should carefully assess the evolving situation in the Taiwan Strait, considering diplomatic efforts and the potential impact of economic and domestic challenges on China's foreign policy decisions. Taiwan's future growth appears promising, especially in the semiconductor industry, with plans for substantial investments to address global shortages. The Silicon Shield is still holding up and is proving a crucial truth about modern war, as spoken centuries ago by Sun Tzu in his book, The Art of War. The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. If you like this video and want to learn more about what's really going on around the world, check out this video here. And if this video brought value to you today, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing the video. Thanks for watching.